Good evening, everyone. My name is Ken Joseph Petizer de la Peña from St. Francis Xavier College, BS Criminology, 3rd year, Section Charlie. For today's video, I'm going to read Article 16 and 17 of Criminal Law Book 1. Article 16. Who are criminally liable? The following are criminally liable for grave and less grave felonies. Number 1. Principals. Number 2. Accomplices. Number 3. Accessories. The following are criminally liable for the light felonies is number 1 is principals, number 2 accomplices. Accessories not liable for light felonies because the individual prejudice is so small that penal sanction is not necessary. Only natural persons can be criminals as the only they can act with malice or negligence and can be subsequently deprived of liberty. Judicial persons are liable under the special laws. Manager of a partnership is liable even if there is no evidence of the direct participations in the crime. Corporations may be the inquired party. General rules, corps, and the animals have no rights that may be injured. Exception: defamations of the dead is punishable when it blackens the memory of one who is dead. In summary, Article 16 outlines the criminal liability for grave and light felonies. Principals and accomplices are criminally liable for all categories of felonies, while accessories are only liable for grave and less grave felonies, not for light ones. Due to the minor's individual prejudice involved, the criminal liability applies only to the natural persons who can act with malice or negligence and be deprived of liberty. Juridical persons are held liable under the special laws. The manager of a partnership can be held liable even without evidence of direct participations in the crime, while the corporations can be the victim of crimes. They cannot be held a criminal liable. Article 17. Principals. The following are considered principals. Number 1. Those who take a direct part in the executions of the act. Number 2. Those who act directly, force, or induce others to commit it. Number 3. Those who cooperate in the commissions of the offense by another act without which it would not have been accomplished. Principals by direct participations. Requisites for two or more to be principals by direct participations. Number 1. Participated in the criminal resolutions conspiracy. Number 2. Carried out their plan and personally took part in its executions by acts which directly intended to the same end. Conspiracy is unity of purpose and intentions. Establishments of conspiracy. Number 1 is proven by overt act. Number 2, not mere knowledge or approval. Number 3, it is not necessary that there be formal agreement. Number 4, must prove beyond reasonable doubt. Number 5 is conspiracy is implied when the accused had a common purpose and were united in execution. Number 6, unity of purpose and intentions in the commissions of the crime may be shown in the following cases. Number 1, spontaneous agreement at the moment of the commissions of the crime. Number 2, active cooperations by all the offenders in the perpetrator of the crime. Number 3, contributing by positive acts to the realizations of a common criminal intent. Number 4, presence during the commissions of the crime by a band and lending moral support thereto. Number 5, while the conspiracy may be implied from the circumstances attending the commission of the crime, it is nevertheless the rule that conspiracy must be established by a positive and conclusive evidence. Conspiracy not liable for the crimes of the other which is not the object of the conspiracy or is not a logical or necessary consequence thereof. Multiple rape. Each rapist is liable for another crime because each cooperated in the commissions of the rapes perpetrated by the others. Exception: in the crimes of murder with treachery, all the offenders must at least know that there will be a treachery in executing the crime of or cooperate therein. Example: Juan and Pedro conspired to kill Thomas without the previous plan or treachery in the crime scene. Juan used a treachery in the presence of Pedro's, and Pedro's know such both are liable for murder, but if Pedro stayed by the gate while Juan alone killed Thomas with a treachery so that Pedro didn't know how it was carried out, Juan is liable for murder while Pedro for homicide. No such things as conspiracy to commit an offense, though negligence. However, special law may make one co-principal example. Under the Pure Food and Drug Act, a studio owner is liable for the act of his employees of selling adulterated coffee, although he didn't know that coffee was being sold. Conspiracy is negated by the acquittal of a co-defendant that the culprits carried out the plan and personally took part in the executions by acts which directly intended to the same end. Number 1. Principals by direct participation must be at the scene of the crime personality taking part although he was not present in the scene of the crime. He is equally liable as a principals by direct participations. Number 2. One serving as a guard pursuant to the conspiracy in a principal direct participation. If the second element is missing, those who did not participate in the commands of the acts of executions cannot be held criminal liable unless the crime agreed to be committed is treason, sedition, or rebellion. Principals by inductions, those who directly force or induce others to commit it. Principal by inductions liable only when principals by direct participation is committed to the act induced requisites. Number 1. Inducement be made directly with the intention of procuring the commissions of the crime. Such inducement be the determines cause of the commissions of the crime by the material executor. Form of inducement. Number 1. By price, reward, or promise. Number 2. Irresistible force or uncontrollable fear. Number 3. Commander has the intentions to procuring the commissions of the crime. Number 4. Commander's ascendance or influence. Number 5. Words used so direct, so efficacious, so powerful. Number 6. Command be uttered prior to the commissions. Number 7. Executor had no personal reasons. Number 4. Imprudent advance does not constitute sufficient inducement. Number 5. Requisites for those words of command to be considered inducement. Number 6. Words uttered in the heat of anger and the nature of the command that had to be obeyed do not make one on inductors. Inductors. Inductors others. Liable only when the crime is executed. Proposed to commit a felony. Same. Punishable at once when proposed to commit rebellion or treasons. The persons whom one proposed should not commit the crime, otherwise the latter becomes an inductors. Covers only treasons and rebellions. Covers on any crime. Effect of acquittal of the principal by direct participations on liable of principals by inducement. Number 1. Conspiracy is negated by the acquittal of a co-defendant. Number 2. One cannot be held guilty in instigating the commissions of the crime without first showing that the crime has been actually committed by another. But if one charged as principal by direct participation be acquired because he act without criminal intent or malice, it is not a ground for the acquittal of the principal by inducement. Principals by indispensable cooperations, those who cooperate the commissions of the offense by another act without which it would not have been accomplished. Requisites. Number 1. Participations in the criminal resolutions. Number 2. Cooperate to another act includes a negligence. There is a collective criminal responsibility when the offenders are criminal liable in the same manners and to the same extent. The penalty is the same for all. There is an individual criminal responsibility when there is no conspiracy. In a summary, this is a detailed overview of the concept of the principles in a criminal law, which includes those who directly participate in a crime, those who induce others to commit a crime, and those who provide the indispensable cooperations in the commission of crime. Number one is principals by direct and participations. These individuals directly engage in the criminal act. This category requires their participations in the criminal resolutions, conspiracy, and personal involvement in the executions of the crime. Conspiracy, which implies unity of purpose and intention, must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt and can be established through overact common purpose and unity in executions. However, a conspirator is not liable for crimes that are not the object of the conspiracy or are not logical or necessary consequences thereof. Principles by inductions, these individuals induce others to commit a crime. They are only liable when the persons they induce has carries out the crime. The inducement must be direct with the intent of procuring the commissions of the crime, and it must be determine the causes of crime's execution. The forms of inducements can be include the price, reward, or promise, resistible force or uncontrollable fear, or a command from a person with influence. Number three is principles by indispensable cooperations. These individuals' cooperations in the commissions of the offense by an act without which the crime would not have been accomplished. This requires participations in criminal resolutions and cooperations do another act, including negligence. The document also discussed the concept of a collective versus individual criminal responsibility and the influence of the acquittal of the one principal on the liability of others. For instance, acquittal of a co-defendant negates conspiracy, and principals by inductions can only be held guilty if the principals by direct participations committed the crime. I hope daghang mong nasabtan sa ko ang summary about Article 17, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.